first to know that I've added a bunch of stuff. I guess unless somebody logged in. I've added a bunch of stuff to the playbook. A walkthrough of Riverside, a walkthrough of Calendly, a walkthrough of my automations, and I created a new section called the Lab, where I'm just listing experiments and stuff that I'm trying. So I listed the one I'm trying with my ads, and I had an idea for another one that I can't remember, so I'm really glad I wrote it down. So yeah, I'm really excited about the stuff that I've added to using AI to generate an episode. Yeah, right. I should do that. Since AI is like all the rage these days. I spent a good amount of time last week trying to get one to admit that it was like stealing content, and that's how it was generating new content. And it was like, I don't know my sources. I just know I've learned off these things. And I'm like, okay. So I guess that the AI is really good at not getting sued. Is what it is. All right, cool. Well, so first of all, welcome to week 4, the last week. We're going to cover a lot of ground today. Hopefully do a lot of hands-on stuff. Do you have any questions about anything we've covered up until this point? All right. Cool. Well, then let me, I'll do, where am I? Oh, I got to change my camera to the virtual cam and then switch to this. And this is Twitter. That looks okay. Does that look okay for you? Spoiler alert on the last slide. Whoopsie. Actually, you know what? I am going to keep this, but I am going to, since there's a lot of demo stuff, I am just going to share my screen here in Zoom. Just share everything. It'll be grand. Okay. All right, and I'll move this out of the way so it's not distract. I gotta keep it up a little bit so I know what I'm looking at. Okay. Move this over. Blah blah blah. Okay. Cool. So let's talk about launching. It is, we'll call this test launch day, right? I don't know if we'll be ready to launch by the end of the day. I would love if you did, right? We're going to set up your Buzzsprout account and all that. But if you want to, tweak a couple of things before you go live too, this will just be the dry run. And of course, going live on Buzzsprout, as we'll cover, is not necessarily going live in podcast directories. You have to, in most cases, explicitly submit your podcast feed. So, there's a couple of steps between now and launch, but we're going to get you as close as possible. So today's agenda, we'll go through the launch checklist. I'll talk about name, description, and artwork. We'll sign up for Buzzsprout, and then we'll cover uploading, which is really straightforward. I'm basically going to give you a walkthrough of Buzzsprout and how everything works there. So here's the checklist. You can access a PDF of this and all of the checklists in the playbook under the resources section. There'll be the podcast launch checklist, or maybe it's just called the podcast checklist because there's like the launch and then there's solo shows and sorry, got distracted because I wasn't sure if my levels were like proper. Now I need to check them. You can hear me okay, right? And test. Okay, cool. I guess I didn't see either of you nod, but I assume, yeah. Now I'm looking at you. Okay, cool, great. I was hiding the thumbnails, which is why I didn't see you nod. Okay, cool. Anyway, so it has these checklists in the solo show and a guest show. So there's like a couple of things in those PDFs, but this is the launch part. And I'm including this here to show what we've already covered, right? Which is like, why are you starting? That's your mission statement, coming up with your topic and your format, which is of course a mini podcast, coming up with episode ideas and writing your trailer, or at least writing, a call to action or a little promo, some sort of content that you can record. And then for the gear, we've covered, you have a microphone at this point, recording and editing, and then accessories that we've talked about. So the things that are left are coming up with a name, creating the artwork, and then signing up for the audio host. And that's what we're going to cover today. So first, let's talk about name, description, and artwork. And I want to cover why this is last. Like, why didn't we do this the first week? And this is the stuff that can basically be changed at any time, right? I just changed the name of Make Money Podcasting to The Profitable Podcaster. I've changed the artwork for all of my shows a couple of times now. So I wanted us to nail down what I thought was what I feel are the important parts, right? The mission statement, the content, and the call to action. And now we can kind of talk about, hey, now we know what the show is all about. Let's come up with a name and a description that serves our mission and the artwork. So that's why I didn't prioritize it for earlier in the cohort. And I just wanted to kind of let you know that, like, I didn't forget about this part, but it definitely wasn't one of the four crucial thing, like what in the top four crucial things, I guess, even though you need them. So when it comes to coming up with a name, I use Apple Podcasts and Spotify to search for a good name. So I'll usually type in what I think is a good name and see what comes up. So for example, for The Profitable Podcaster, my show is the first one that comes up. There's Cure for Pod Fade. There's Sounds Profitable. And then there's nothing else, Digital Podcaster, I guess. But there's not stuff that's like totally related to The Profitable Podcaster. So I'm really glad I picked this name. And again, I think I told you previously, I didn't pick The Profitable Podcast because The Profitable Podcast can be confused with a bunch of other things. So we can do a demo of this in a minute. Like if you have an idea for a name, we can kind of search through and play with it a little bit and see what comes up. But that's what I usually do. And I think I said this last week during the Q&A, but I believe that making sure your name is unique in Apple Podcasts is more important than like getting the unique domain name, because people are going to be searching for a podcast in podcast apps most of the time. So as long as your URL is speakable, right? If your domain name is speakable, that's fine. But as far as like searchability goes, most people are probably going to be looking in their podcast app of choice for new podcasts. On that same token, the description is something that I've kind of slept on for. I slept on for a long time, and I'm saying don't sleep on it, right? Some directories like Apple Podcasts won't include this in the search terms, which is why I've slept on it for a long time. But newer ones like Spotify, and Amazon Music and other similar directories, they do use the description. So having a good description is important, not just for your website, but for the directories as well. So hopefully, right, people read the description. And even in Apple Podcasts, right, maybe they search for something and then they come across my description and it says, want free weekly coaching calls from successful creators. Like that sounds like a good yes, right? I want coaching calls. And so crafting a couple of sentence description, you could see that we have about 3 lines here. Couple of sentences that really grab people's attention. And again, you could always change this and rework it. This could be your mission statement at first, and then quote unquote SEO it a little bit based on like some keywords and things like that. But having something good there is really important. I also want to, this is really weird to me, but like most, at least half of the recommended shows for how I built it are Chinese shows, and I don't really know why. My podcast is big in China, apparently. So that's the description. Again, we could talk about the technicalities of writing one in a minute, like in like the hands-on part. But I think like having a good description is really important. It's not just like this is a show about whatever, right? It should be a couple of sentences that really grab the potential listener. And then artwork. I want to spend a little time here because honestly, they say you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but most people will. And so the artwork, there's a couple of rules of thumb here. One is to prioritize your show's title. So it shouldn't just be like a picture. It should have the name of the show on it, right? This goes against like what like YouTube thumbnails recommend, right? Which is like don't have the name of the video. People will see that. But most of the time people are going to see the artwork first and they'll look at the name first. So prioritize your show's title. Use a clean font and limit the number of colors, right? You don't want it to look too busy because the name is not going to stand out. It could probably be argued that my current artwork is too busy, but it's been working, so I'm going to keep it. And then using a face can catch attention and build trust. Like ultimately your face probably. That's not always the case, as we'll talk about in a minute, but they say the same thing about thumbnails, right? Seeing a human being's face grabs the attention of other human beings. So that's something to think about. Are you going to put your face or someone's face on the artwork? And I just wanted to take a look at some pieces of artwork, right? So the first one over here is the new Profitable Podcaster one. I kind of threw this together and I kind of changed the name from Make Money Podcasting to the Profitable Podcaster. I'm not super in love with this. I'm also not like a graphic designer or branding expert. But it's good for now. I added a little shadow to profitable so people see that word first. And then it's got my podcast liftoff branding. Now, on the other side here, we've got my current artwork versus old artwork I tried with my face. I don't know if it was the topic or the artwork, but while the one on the right was the artwork, my downloads dipped a lot. And so I don't know if it was just coincidence or if like this was a deterrent. Maybe it's because like it's black and white and so it didn't stand out as much, but my face on the artwork did not work for me. Whereas this is, since changing it to this, it's been doing really well. I'm guessing like the hammer and the lines grab people's attention. There's fewer colors, right? There's like kind of more shades of the same color here. And the hammer is kind of a recognizable thing at this point. So this has worked for me. Now, Pat Flynn, Smart Passive Income, I think it was this year, changed his artwork to this from this. And that makes perfect sense, right? I mean, he's, almost 20 years older. He's like 15 years older in this picture. He has a beard now. And people who don't know what SPI is, right? If he's trying to find newer audiences, SPI is not something that people know, right? Pat Flynn is maybe something people know. But again, this is an old picture of him. So people probably recognize him now. And this is really good, right? Because he's in a t-shirt that kind of has his mantra. It's a green background versus a white background. And smart is in big letters. And so that's the first thing people are going to see. They're going to be smart what? Smart Passive Income. Oh, I like that. Oh, it's by Pat Flynn. Yeah, that's right. And then it still has the SPI logo here, right? So this is the SPI logo. That's what he was using up here. But again, that's unclear if you've never heard of Smart Passive Income before. And there's a lot of people who haven't. So this was probably a smart move on his part. And I just wanted to kind of show you a couple of old versus new pieces of artwork side by side. Now, the thing that I recommend you do, right, is go into either Spotify or Apple Podcasts and look at the top shows in your category. So I picked technology, and you can see the top, what is this, 17 shows, right? It's 6 across, so 6, 12, 18 shows. A lot of them have faces, right? Lex Friedman podcast. I don't even know who Lex Friedman is. Maybe I should. But his is number one, right? And that's probably name recognition, but New York Times, Hard Fork, like I don't really know what that is. This is very clear. This one, like All In, it's about poker, probably, right? If you know poker, you know poker. So there's some faces. There's like the Vergecast it's like a hot mess. So I would look at this to see kind of what trends are happening, and then see if you can make yours simultaneously stand out while using like similar trends, if that makes sense. So, and again, I wouldn't sweat this too much in the beginning, right? Because it's not like, I'm not going to say that your artwork makes or breaks your podcast. It's not like, oh, I switched my artwork and now I'm getting millions of downloads versus tens of downloads. But it is something you want to think a little bit about. So let's go to a demo now. We'll do a couple of demos here. I'm gonna X out a bunch of things here, which I probably should have done like in the beginning, but I didn't. Okay, so let's talk about artwork. But first, I do want to do a look at Apple Podcasts, right? And surprisingly, I took that screenshot like today. So do either of you have an idea for a name for your podcast that you haven't looked up yet?
Well, I wasn't sure about mine if I was going to go with just coaching security, which is kind of bland and not really super descriptive. If my target audience is going to stay, creators or content creators, I could go with like cybersecurity for creators, something like that. And I have not looked that up at all.
Cool. Yeah. So coaching security, it looks like there's a lot of secrets. Coaching business secrets. Did I spell security right? Did I write secrets? No, I didn't. Okay. So it looks like if you
I can't hear anything, but that could just be me.
Oh, has my audio cut out?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So Tom said you can't hear me, Tom, but it's totally you. Looks like it's just you, Tom. Did you hear Anna?
I switched to my external speakers. So
test.
Sorry about that.
Hey, no problem. Yeah, so it looks like if I do coaching security, a lot of things about secrets come up, right? So, if we look at it, like see all the shows, man, is it coaching, or is like security somehow inextricably linked to secrets?
It's got to be the coaching,
right? Yeah. And then let's try Spotify. Oh, I deleted Spotify from my computer because I've switched back to Apple Music. Something irrelevant for you, but exciting for me. Okay. So is it play.spotify, music, web.spotify, Spotify web player, open.spotify? Of course, open. Fun fact, that background image is a picture I took of Spaceship Earth. Okay, so now let's search. Let's try coaching security again. And podcasts and shows. Mastering coaching skills. So this is going to look slightly different. And if I move you over here. So, I mean, it looks like coaching security is not taken. But what was the other? Oh, unsupervised learning. But what was the other one you mentioned, Tom?
Possibly cybersecurity for creators.
Is cybersecurity one word?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Security.
If you Google it, you'll find a million articles asking the same question.
Oh, cybersecurity for creators. Cybrary podcast, Cybersecurity 101, simplified. So I think I would think about this, and let's go back to Apple Podcasts and just see. I'm gonna copy this since I had a hard time typing it. Wow. So there's we get a lot different results here than in Spotify too. So the Creator Podcast, Brilliant Idiots. Is this the Read or the Red? Hard to say. Yeah, wow. So we get a lot different results here. What I would challenge you to think about is if we're thinking about creators, and this could play into your episode names as well. Your episode names in your description. What are creators? What are they searching for when they're looking for cybersecurity stuff? Are they calling it cybersecurity, or are they calling it something different? And that's hard to know without actually talking to one. So I think I would probably settle on the one you like best right now. Maybe do cursory Googling and see what's out there for cybersecurity for creators if they're using different terms, and pick the one you like best. Because again, I don't want you to get stuck here. I don't want you to get stuck on the name. You could always change it later. So I think probably cybersecurity or creating safe online safety, something like that. I might try to workshop a couple of those. I like to get a big notebook and just write a bunch of words, put them all together. That's how I come up with my names. And then those are terrible. And then later, just I'm sleeping and I wake up and a great name hits me. So that's what I would do when it comes to coming up with the name. Anna, do you have any thoughts around your name?
Yeah, I was gonna go with Unreal Results.
Unreal Results. All right. And so it looks like okay, so it looks like there's no no competition there. That's good. And then if we look in Spotify, man, such different results come up, and I don't understand.
Yeah. Unreal Reptiles.
Unreal Reptiles, Unreal Radio, the Unreal Podcast, but Unreal Results. I'd probably on your artwork have a tagline about kind of results for what.
Okay.
Just so people can kind of look at it and be like, yes, this is a. I'm gonna say physical therapy, but again, I'm not, and I don't know if that's 100% right. That's
yeah, that's fine.
Okay, cool. But yeah, I think that kind of based.
When I look on podcasts for physical therapy or athletic training or athletic trainer, they're all real boring names of athletic training education.
Oh yeah.
Podcast.
Yeah. So I'd probably put something like that in the tagline.
Okay.
Yeah, just because I've tried going clever with names, and then clever versus clear is kind of the thing there. But I think based on your mission statement, I think Unreal Results is a good name that kind of leads people to what you talk about, as long as there's just a couple of clues. And so you
should just be underneath Unreal Results for physical therapists and athletic trainers.
Yeah, that's perfect. And like you can, I don't know. Well, so Buzzsprout will let us add a tagline too. So that's something else to think about. Tom, also for you, right? Cybersecurity for creators. If that's what you like, right? You could say like, how creators can protect their identity in their business or whatever, right? Like that's the tagline. Cool. So that's coming up with the name. Now I have a full video on this in the playbook, but I do want to walk through the artwork stuff really quick. And so what I'll usually do is create a design in Canva. Do you guys use Canva?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I love Canva. So I'll do a custom size 3000 by 3000. That's the biggest that Apple Podcast accepts. It has to be minimum 1500. And then you have a starting point here. I'll usually look for a template that I like, but I usually end up changing it completely. So, this is pretty basic. I like where this is heading. I don't have a concept in mind for. Oh, okay. So I'll do WordPress for creators. Right, that's a podcast I'm kind of noodling on, and so if I'm thinking about colors I associate with creators, it could be like pink or purple for some reason always sticks in my head as like for creators, probably because they're not like boring colors. And then I'd probably want so I'll type WP for creators here. I don't really like that font, or maybe I'll like this kind of maybe looks better. I'll replace the current one. WP for creators. Now this is not quite, I'll say with Joe Casabona. You can put your name on it or not. I'm like still kind of well known in the WordPress space, so I'm like throwing my name on it. And then maybe find a background color. Purple. This is very it's not quite the branding I'm going for here. In the 2 seconds I've thought about this, but I like the kind of handwritten stuff. So handwriting. Let me know if this is like totally boring and pointless for you too. I don't know. I feel like people like watching how people do things. I won't belabor this point too much though. Architect's Daughter is one I've always liked. That's a little meh. I'm like the worst. So actually, Water Lily, right? This is kind of what I'm going for, but not really. I'll also sketch sometimes. Like I'll sketch out a concept, and then like try to make it happen in Canva. This is pretty. I mean, like I use the permanent marker font all the time. So it's like maybe not my favorite go-to, but it's fine. And then for the background, I probably want a gradient actually. Gradients are a little bit annoying in Canva. Because they're not like the most friendly thing in the world to figure out, but maybe they've changed that actually. So I kind of like that going on here. Whoops. Can I lock that? Or at least, yeah, send it to the back. There we go. Change that to white as well. I would want the WordPress logo. So I'll look for WordPress. Under graphics, photos. No, I'll just have to use one I've uploaded. Surely they have the WordPress logo. No. Okie dokie. Oh, that's like super undesirable. That's fine. I will remove the background. That's aliased. I don't like that. Fine. WordPress logo. They have like a really nice branding page where they make it super clear what you are allowed and not allowed to do with their logo. One of the things that you're not allowed to do with their logo or their trademark, their word mark, is put WordPress in the domain or the title, which is why all WordPress related stuff is like WP, because they're pretty strict about that. Now, this is like first ideas. They say there's no bad ideas in brainstorming. Obviously, there is. But I'm thinking like creator, maybe it could be a website. I want to go with like a very art or artistic centric thing. So maybe like a paint or paint palette, something like this. Where, yeah, so actually maybe expand that. And decrease that considerably. Bring that down here. Put the WordPress logo there. Bring it forward. Oh, see, that's not right. I want you to know that I'm not a huge fan of what's happening right now, but I at least want to illustrate kind of how I do things. Actually, the way I would actually do it is probably have like an actual graphic designer put it together if it's for like a client of mine. But if it's for me, yeah, maybe something like this. Wish I could. Oh, I can lock this. Boop. Perfect. Oh, I've locked the whole thing. Got it. What have I done? Okay. So maybe something like this. I like kind of like what's going on here, but I'm not like in love with it. And then I would probably add something like this down here so that we have a good back, except this is another thing that drives. I love these little shape things in Canva, but they're not horizontally expandable. Like they're not like repeating images. So I have to, or we, those of us who are creating the thing, have to do something like this, where then I like kind of combine them. Maybe I'll like flip this so it looks like one continuous thing. And then I can make it a little bit bigger. And then group. And then push back. And so maybe this is something. This is probably the start of something. Again, I haven't really thought about color scheme for this or anything like that. But I feel like this is like a direction I could go in. And again, this could always change, right? So this is at least the start of something okay for me. But I mean, hopefully that's helpful in like a quick demo in kind of how Canva works. Not really a full tutorial. I think the one I make in the library is a lot better. Like I think that artwork is just generally better. And I probably take more, I think I take more of a tutorial approach to it, kind of talking through how Canva works if you're unfamiliar. For this, I just wanted to kind of show you my brainstorming process, I guess. But maybe I can show you the result of tilfm.com. Yeah, so this is the artwork I came up with. No, don't play. This is the artwork I came up with for that podcast. Where's the best place for this? Oh, made all these dead links. Okay. So let's just zoom in on it here. So you can see it's like TIL for Today I Learned. There's like a little chalkboard. I was actually like pretty shocked with how well this turned out. But that's something that I think, if I spend like an hour sketching and thinking through it, I'll come up with something good. Are there any questions about that? I know that there's like also places like Envato Elements where you can find like premium not clip art, but like vector art and things like that. Sometimes I'll incorporate some of that. If you pay for Canva, you do get the access to the premium elements as well. So it's more about like probably finding the right starting point and having an idea of what you want to put in there. Like for Make Money Podcasting or the Profitable Podcaster, I knew I had like the branding already. And then for how I built it, I actually stole the hammer from the cover of my first book and used that. And then I was worried that they'd get mad at me for that. So I like retraced it. And then a graphic designer actually put together that artwork. So, but I mean, hopefully that was helpful. Do you have any questions about Canva or like what artwork, name, description stuff before moving on to Buzzsprout? All right. So let's continue on. So let's talk about audio hosting for a minute. First of all, you need an audio host. I know we've talked about it a lot. This is no surprise that we're going to use Buzzsprout. But you do need a place to upload your podcast. There's a lot of competitors out there. I have been generally recommending Buzzsprout. And I came up with like 7 reasons why. There's a bunch more, but there is a free plan to start, right? So you're not... I had a tweet thread about this today. And I wanted to say that you're not anchored to a service that will sell your data, but I wanted that to be like a nice thread. But it's not Anchor is what I'm really saying, right? It's a free plan, but there's a very clear business model behind it. There's the dynamic content we talked about. There's smart website customization, and I'll show you this, when we log in and kind of go through the sign up process, but, you can have a custom domain, but then there's also a section where you can point to a custom web page per episode, which I think is cool because it means that you could still use Buzzsprout for the host, but if people click on the episode link, it could go to your website. You can customize the player. It's really easy to submit to a bunch of directories. They have monetization, and then there's the Descript integration as well. So, which I think you saw, or which I showed in the Descript bootcamp. So those are the reasons why I like Buzzsprout. Let's actually go through a walkthrough now. Make that bigger. And actually, I'll open up a private tab so you can kind of see what it looks like when you're not logged in. So you can get started for free. Click here, put in your first name, and then an email address. I'll just say jcasabona plus mini@gmail.com. If you don't know the mini or the plus selector thing with Gmail, it's pretty cool. Like you could put plus and then anything after your main Gmail username. And it'll go to your inbox. And I usually use that for filtering email. I'm not a robot, and I think I'm going to get this right. That's not a motorcycle. All right, sweet. So then it'll prompt you for a password, which I'll use Raycast to generate here. So you could say, I'm a new podcaster. I already have a podcast, We're going to say it's new probably. We'll call it WP for creators. This is why we want the description, right? So as a creator, you've probably heard that WordPress is easy, only to find out it's not as straightforward as other services. So why use WordPress at all? WP for creators is the show that will help you quickly and easily get up and running with WordPress, as well as unlock the potential power. This is really wordy. No other platform can give you. Not bad. Okay, so once you do that, you're brought to notice like that they don't ask you for a credit card or anything. They just set you up with the free plan and you get 2 hours of content per month. So that's signing up, right? And then you can update your artwork here where you it has direct integration with Canva. That's bananas. And then you could log in with your Canva account and just create it directly there. Then you'll want to choose the category. So this category kind of depends on I think they pull these from Apple Podcasts. So you want to think again, and you can change this, but you want to think about like where are most of the podcasts that your target audience is probably listening to? Where are other similar podcasts? I've tried to get clever with the category, and it did not work out for me. So WordPress, honestly, is a technology platform. There's no like, as far as I know, there's no like straight up creator. There's like business, there's entrepreneurship, but there's no like creator categories right now. So I'm going to choose technology, and then you could choose the time zone and all of that stuff. Then click Save Podcast. So that is signing up. I recommend that you kind of go through, include all of this stuff. Do you have a website address, type of podcast, episodic or serial? Episodic is you can listen to one but not the next, and you won't be totally lost. That's most podcasts. Serial is like you got to watch it or listen to it in order, much like the podcast Serial. You could choose your episode limit number. I would ignore that. Couple of keywords, copyright, and then so it actually looks like we don't have a tagline here, but we do have the description. Oh, and then under advanced keywords, this is where we just were. Okay, so I'd also recommend you fill out your host information, especially for a mini podcast. You're using it to establish your own authority. So with all of these things, I mean, that's setting up your podcast in Buzzsprout, which was super fast. I'm going to go over here to my account now, because now everything's going to be basically the same, except it's going to be more filled out. For uploading a new episode, you would click upload a new episode. You can include real quick. You can include or listen to the pre-roll. I have dynamic content added, so I'll show you how to do that as well. You would choose a file to upload, or you could skip it. So maybe I will just go back to the other one, so that I'm not like foobarring my live, my live podcast. I'll change this later. Tom, sorry for that, for like exposing my password. Okay, so we'll do upload, choose file to upload. I have a bunch of WordPress related episodes here somewhere. Let's sort by name. I don't know about you, but I'm always interested in like when people are showing their file uploaders. Maybe that's just me. WP review. Actually, you know what? WP minute. I had something called the creator clock. So let's just pick one of these. So it's uploaded. We want to give it a title. Podcast plugins. The best podcast plugin for WordPress. Then we can come up with a description. I'll just put in some lorem ipsum for now. Buzzsprout also allows for an episode footer. So this is something that gets applied to all shows. This is a great opportunity for a call to action. So if it's like interested in WordPress, but want more one-on-one guidance, spelled guidance totally wrong. Book me for a consulting hour. Right. And again, this will go at the bottom of every episode. So you can add, again, like a clear call to action there as well. So then it has season information, right? So if you break your show up into seasons, you can. You don't have to. I probably won't for this one. And then you could choose full, trailer, or bonus. Trailer is going to probably be the first one you upload, right? It's going to be your scripted trailer. Bonus is something that like doesn't really fit. So maybe as a bonus episode for this show, I'll talk about, I don't know, like my WordPress origin story, right? It's not really like for creators, but it's interesting content, I think. And then you could see more options here. So we have the artist or the guest. We have the summary. So this is the tagline I was thinking about. So you might want to type something here. I would say something like, in this episode, well, I wouldn't say in this episode. We look at the top 3 WordPress podcast plugins and pick the best one for most people. Custom episode webpage. I have wpforcreators.com. So I would do wpforcreators.com/001 or /podcast plugins. And then some tags. We can then save this episode data. And so with our free account, note that it says this episode will be deleted in 90 days. That's the thing. They essentially give you a 3-month evaluation period, right? And if your content is really ephemeral, like that's fine. But then you can also upgrade to save. So that's uploading an episode. Dynamic content. So you have pre or post roll ads. You can upload dynamic content. I don't have any calls to action here. But you will, just for demo's sake, join the mailing list. This is a description that gets added to every episode as well. So I might say get even more great WordPress tips, and then the URL, right? So I'll just put in that one. Then it creates the dynamic content. And then you can choose to apply this to the pre-roll, and it'll get applied to every published episode. And we can see that. So, there we go. Okay. So, perhaps before publish, we need to choose to apply it. But when you have a bunch, like it'll ask you, actually, if we go back to Safari, I can show you that part. So like I can say like apply to pre-roll, and then it will automatically apply it to all episodes. And if I upload a new one, I can just choose to apply specific ones, right? So I can say select episodes, unselect the episodes I want this one to apply to, and then upload a new one. So if I'm talking about, if I have like a series on mini podcasting, maybe I want a special pre-roll for that one. So that's dynamic content. I think the biggest thing to think about for you is directories, right? So I need to I need to publish this episode. Okay, so right, I skipped that part. So once you upload the episode, okay, and you can see that the dynamic content is already added here, right? Like this is the text from the dynamic content. You could choose to publish it. So now it's published. And then you can, once you kind of complete that checklist, so I think I'm logged into Canva in Chrome here. Oh, wow. These are like kind of, this is so interesting. You know what? I'm going to recommend if you're going to create artwork with Canva to do it this way, because these templates are way better than the ones that we saw. So close. Yeah. So if you did something like this and then send it to Buzzsprout, that was super low effort on my part. Great. So now we could save. We have the updated artwork, and then we can submit it to directories, right? So for certain ones like Spotify, it will automatically submit it for you. Submit your podcast to Spotify. For Apple Podcasts, you need to go through a whole song and dance, and they give you the steps to do it. I would recommend that you basically do all of these, right? Because for most of them, it's the, wow. For most of them, it's the click of a button. For, I think, Spotify and, for Apple Podcasts, and I think for iHeartRadio, yeah, you need to submit it on your own. But Buzzsprout, more than any other service, has made submission like way easier than I've seen. That's another reason I really like Buzzsprout. So I would recommend, like, once you have a few episodes uploaded and ready to go, just like go through and submit to all of these places, because it can't hurt. And that's really Buzzsprout. You can customize your player, like I said. So like if you have branding colors, you can grab those and add them here. Well, that's not right. What is that? DF0CA8. You know what happens is it doesn't strip out the hashtag. There we go. So now we have like some customized branding with share. Once you submit, you can have the subscribe buttons added, which is really cool. You can include a donation link, and you can kind of choose some options for the player as well. So again, lots of really cool stuff, I think, here in Buzzsprout. What I would recommend you all do now, if you haven't already, is kind of go through and sign up for Buzzsprout. That's really your next bet. So with that, I think that's everything I wanted to cover. So I think the next thing I would do, I mean, obviously next week is Christmas, but what I would love for you or anybody watching the replay to do is submit and then send me a link to your podcast. And I know I went through a lot of stuff really fast. Do you have any questions about anything that we've covered today? do you feel prepared to launch your podcast, launch your mini podcast? Awesome.
I have a unrelated question.
Yeah.
Like unrelated to this day
Yeah.
question, but related to podcasts. In terms of naming the episodes, I've read some things about like don't use numbers, and if you do use numbers, use it at the end. Does it matter? What's your thought on that?
I have pretty strong opinions about this. I don't think you should use numbers, especially at the beginning. But I don't think it at all. I think you should treat naming podcast episodes like you would create headlines for a blog post or an email newsletter. I like tweeted about this and offended a number of people apparently. One guy who like insisted on arguing with me on Twitter. Can you believe it? And we got to a point where he was like, he said, well, most podcast players add the episode number anyway. And I'm like, yeah. So like, why would you want that redundant information? I think if you want your episodes to be Googleable, then you shouldn't include the numbers. iTunes doesn't like it when you include the numbers either. Or iTunes, whoops. Apple Podcasts. Like if you use like a WordPress plugin like Castos, it'll straight up say, like title of the WordPress post, and then it'll say like, what do you want the iTunes title to be? I think they still say iTunes, which is why I keep saying it. Yeah, I think if you want it to be Googleable, you don't want to include that. And like also just like guest name from company, which is how I used to title my episodes, is also not very good, right? Because it's like, unless you already know who that person is, they're not going to care. But like, so my first episode was like Jason Coleman of Paid Memberships Pro. And then I changed it to, I think something like, building the most flexible WordPress membership plugin. If I didn't, I'm going to change it. That's better than what I have. If it's not that. So, you want something like that. Because you want people to be able to Google it, or if you search the Profitable Podcast, right, a bunch of my episodes come up because I say like the word podcaster or profitable in those episodes. So that was really verbose, but I guess the short answer is don't put episode numbers in the title, because it takes up characters that you don't want to take up.
Right. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. All right. Well, we're at the top of the hour. I want to be cognizant of your time. But I think the next steps from here is feel free to submit your artwork if you're interested, or if you want to bounce titles off of me. Feel free to email me. I'm still not getting emails for comments from the site, and I don't know why. So you can send me an email and say like, hey, this is what I was thinking for the title, or hey, this is the artwork I was thinking of. I'm not much of a designer, but I can at least tell you kind of gut reaction, like, yeah, this is good, or this is probably really busy, or like the title's really small, or something like that. So happy to do that. And then of course, send me a link to your first episode when it's live. If you want, again, let me know, maybe via email. When I send out the replay, like, think about it. If you want like an accountability call after the new year, where we kind of check in and say like, hey, where are you at? Like, have you launched yet? I'd be happy to do that too. Cause like the goal of this cohort was to get you to launch your podcast. And I know that some of that requires, doing stuff that we covered today. So that's that. And then the last thing is, if you have any feedback for like future iterations of this or live events for Within the Playbook, let me know about that too. Cause this was again, my first time running it. So hopefully the information was good. And I want you to have a winning outcome. So that's the most important part. With that, any other questions, comments, concerns about this, life, the universe, or anything in general? That's how I used to end every single one of my in-person classroom lectures.
No, I don't have anything for you, but thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks so much for showing up. I was really worried I'd be talking to an empty room. And so I appreciate you both being here so that I was not talking to an empty room. Cool. Well, thank you so much. Again, if you have any questions, email me. Let me know. Maybe I'll just schedule the accountability call for after, and then anybody in the playbook who's like, oh yeah, I'll show up anyway, can also do that. So thanks so much. Have happy holidays and Merry New Year's. And I'll see you in January or around the playbook.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks. Bye.